I feel like your life changed a little bit. Let's talk about this when Dawn was killed here at SeaWorld. I feel like your training, your life, and just everything was, sort of flipped upside down. Obviously, the tragedy of Dawn being killed. You were working at SeaWorld.
I was not working at SeaWorld.
Oh, you weren't?
No,
Okay.
I retired in 2008.
You had trained her, though, right? Or
Yes.
The skills?
Yes.
Any thoughts about that to this day when you look back? Or
Dawn was one of the most awesome killer whale trainers that we had. She was a beautiful person as well as a great trainer. She was awesome. I was not there when it happened. I will tell you this, that she was working with a killer whale that was not trained like the rest of the killer whales were. And the reason he wasn't trained on water work, in other words, to let you get in and out of the water, the reason he wasn't was because the facility we got him from, he had already killed a trainer that fell in. And they didn't do water work. And this girl was cleaning the side of the area, and she fell in with Tilikum and 2 other female whales, and they drowned her. They didn't tear her apart or anything like that,
right.
But they drowned her, basically, and the water was really cold. That was at Sealand up in Victoria, Canada. We moved him to SeaWorld, Orlando. We moved one of the other female killer whales to San Diego and one of the other females to San Antonio to be in our groups of whales at those parks. But because Tilikum and those 2 whales were involved in killing somebody, we were not allowed to work with him and train him to do water work because they were afraid one of us might get hurt doing it. I even went to August Bush and I went to the company and said, look, I'd still like to train him to do water work because he'll be safer that way. Because if somebody falls in with him, they might not get back out. We knew that because he had practiced this. And he was not an aggressive whale like the media portrayed and like a lot of the activists portrayed that, oh, he did it because he was stir crazy, because he was...
Yeah, they were rough on Tilly. I mean, they were, he was sinister and he would look at you with one eye when he'd swim by.
Which is totally, totally untrue. And I went online. I was on Larry King Live, all these shows defending SeaWorld on this. He was a whale that was not trained with people in the water. He played with Dawn to death. Now, a lot of people go, oh, no, he ripped her apart. He hurt her. He did hurt her, but she drowned before he did any of the...
Just took her down too deep? Is that
took her in the water, and she couldn't get to the surface, and she drowned. And then when they tried to take the body, when they tried to recover Dawn from the pool, that's when he started getting aggressive. And that's where some of the injuries took place. And that's just a fact. I wasn't there, but I know everybody at SeaWorld. They were there. They saw it. They knew what happened. Totally unfortunate. Dawn was a beautiful person, one of the best people you would ever know. At the time, she was growing her hair long because she was going to donate it to cancer survivors, and her real hair. And she had a ponytail, and she got too close to the side of the pool with him. She was laying down working with him, and her ponytail drifted in the water, and that's what he grabbed and pulled her in with. So again, all I know is that we had certain parameters on how to work with Tilikum. And unfortunately, some of those parameters weren't adhered to, I don't think.
So looking back, sort of being a Monday night quarterback, we've all had a lot of time to think about this, some time to heal. What should have been done differently in your eyes? And you're the guy to really talk about this, not people sitting online typing stuff,
Well, again, it's so unfortunate because all the other whales were trained to do water work. Tilikum wasn't. I guess I would have to say, looking back, we should have trained him to do the water work, to be able to allow people to get in and out of the water. We could have trained him for that. And I think that was a huge thing. I also think that there should have been stricter regulations on how to work with him in place, because it changed after I left, in my opinion. Now, I know there's going to be people that will argue with me on that, but it's a fact.
Yeah. It's so funny because, as I was telling you before we started, I'm surprised our paths didn't cross, because I was in the news business for 25 years, and I did so many stories at Seaworld, Busch Gardens, Seaworld here in California. I'm not kidding you. I probably did 100 stories. Just let's go do a cool story. I think it was my excuse of trying to get out of the newsroom and just go have a nice day. But I really learned a lot over that time. And, it's funny, as I've gotten older, I have such mixed feelings about SeaWorld. And to me, they have done so many positive things over the years. People don't realize before SeaWorld, nobody gave an F about killer whales, dolphins, sea otters, otters. People just didn't give a crap about these creatures.
You're absolutely right.
And SeaWorld started to make the public pay attention. And mind you, this is long before the Discovery Channel, and we had 6,000 channels of learning about different creatures. So I look at all the things that they have done, and even do to this day, of just the wonderful things they do. I also then sort of got educated as I've gotten older, and I still go to SeaWorld on a regular basis. I love the place, But then I sit there and think sometimes, I don't know, should a killer whale be in this tank? And I go back and forth, and then I think, well, it's a positive thing that people are learning about them. And then there's another side that I go, nobody gets upset how many whales get killed a year. You can just go read back in history how many of the Russians used to kill whales, slaughter them.
Upwards of 50,000 in 1 year.
Nobody gave a shit about that. And then one whale, Tilly, and we're losing our minds. And so I know I'm kind of going in a roundabout way here, but what's your thoughts about all this and keeping whales in captivity?
Well, it has to be done right. SeaWorld was doing it right. They were the best in the world at doing it. They were the first to ever have killer whales born in captivity and survive, and have had done it many times since. Of course, now they're not going to breed their killer whales from pressure from the outside, mainly from the animal activist. I think we are going to lose big time by not continuing to have killer whales and other animals, marine mammals, in captive situations, because that's where we can learn so much about them. And that, in turn, is going to help us take care of them in the wild. Not just from them being ambassadors that people want to take care of them and take care of the ocean, but because someday, our oceans are getting polluted, we may be able to repopulate areas with animals that we have, and that we continue to have. Look at the tiger. The only tigers that are going to be left in this world fairly soon
it's
are
true.
tigers in facilities, because they're getting slaughtered to this day, and the wild areas are going away. Even Africa areas are shrinking. Look what's happening to the elephant, and we constantly hear from the activist. PETA even said it when AZA came out with this rule the other day that they're going to do away with the Anchus. They're going to phase it out. They said, oh, that's great news, but they shouldn't have elephants at all. Well, that's just a crock. Here's some facts about these things. These animals, many, many years ago, maybe they were collected wrong. And some of the methods that were used to collect them were wrong, but we learn as we go. I'll give you a fact about elephants. These organizations like PETA would rather see the elephants culled in the wild, killed, rather than go to a zoo. Perfect example of it was when Disney and San Diego were going to bring in a herd that was slated to be culled. They got a bunch of bad PR about it, so they said, okay, we're going to back off. That whole herd was killed, shot with .50 caliber guns that year. Wow. Because there was no place for them.
Is that true?
That's absolutely true. And Those are the types of things that don't make any sense to me, where they would say, well, they're better off dead than in a captive situation. That is just wrong. Now, we have a responsibility, if we're going to have these animals, to take care of them the best way possible. It's a welfare issue, and that's where zoos and aquariums need to continue to go. We need to do better every day. We need to have bigger and better facilities. But it's not always just the size of the facility. It's the care that's given to them. And that's why what AZA has done by banning and by saying they're going to phase the bullhook out, they are increasing the welfare of those animals. If you have to use a tool like an Anchus in captivity, then I agree with PETA. You shouldn't have them. But we don't have to do that, and we've proven it. We know how to take care of these elephants in a positive way. Go over to Busch Gardens right now and see, or go to San Diego Wild Animal Park, and see how they do it. It's awesome. These animals are perfectly happy. They have no reason not to be happy, and they're content. There's no stress involved in their lives. They'd have a lot more stress if they were in the wild, because they'd be hunting for their food. They get all the food they want every day. And that's what zoos have to do. Zoos have to continue to get better and better and better. But this is the only place where most of us are ever going to get to see these animals and really learn to care about them. When they say, oh, we're past that, we shouldn't have zoos, we shouldn't have aquariums, I just think that's going to be a sad day. I do feel, though, I do really feel that oceanariums are probably going to go away. I think marine mammals in captivity are going to go away over the next 100. I hope I'm wrong, but I think that, and I look back at my experiences with it, and I just go, that's a shame for kids growing up like I did. I wanted to do that ever since I was a little kid. You know what inspired me? I went down to Flipper's Sea School. It's called Flipper's Sea School in the Keys. And I got in the water.
I didn't even know I would have been down there.
I got in the water at Flipper's Sea School. It's now the Dolphin Research Center.
Okay,
They're still in business. It's called the Dolphin Research Center on Marathon Key. And that's what inspired me. And I was like 9 or 10 years old, and I wanted to do this. And when I found out Seaworld was opening up, I pushed my way in and got a job there. And I've been doing it since. I've never worked a day in my life.
Yeah, well, no, and I don't, I know there's going to be people that are going to comment on this and say all animals have to be removed from captivity. Of course, they'll never release their own dogs and cats and fish they keep at their house, which I find always interesting how we're hypocritical of that.
But PETA doesn't want you having them either.
No. So, but people are very weird about which animals and species they talk about here. But there is a side to me that I think there is so much positive stuff that comes from even zoos and marine parks such as SeaWorld that I get very torn about it, but
there's a lot of people that get conflicted by it.
It's a tough one,
and it is. But if we really look at the issues, as long as we are taking good care of the animals and we're looking out for their welfare, their mental state, not just their physical state, because that's what zoos used to do. We used to say, okay, they're eating a good diet, they're doing this, they're doing that, so that's what we're doing. Now that's not enough. We've got to look at what mentally these animals. You don't want an animal just to be in an exhibit and lay there and do nothing. That's not what they do in the wild. You've got to give them tasks. You've got to give them things to do. And that's where training comes in. That's where enrichment comes in. That's where looking out for the whole animal, the whole welfare issue on the animal is important. And that's what we're learning to do. And that's what we teach. That's what we are brought into zoos, is to get those things going and teaching these animals. A lot of those animals now have been born in captivity. What are we going to do with them if we, you can't release those animals.
Right.
Now, someday we may be able to do something like that in certain areas. I think it's going to evolve. I think, you've got all this movement. Oh, well, we don't need them in captivity. That's so sad. They're in captivity, some people say. Most people feel that zoos are good.
Right.
Still to this day, most people feel that way. I think it's going to evolve. I think people are going to do that, but our wild is shrinking. I also think that what we do, what my company does, is going to evolve. And I think we're going to see more training and conditioning of wild animals. Right now, it's already started. They use dogs to keep elephants in line in some of the areas in Africa, so that they don't tread into people
farming areas,
into
yeah.
farming areas,
Right.
because that's where the conflicts start. And then you have things like elephants getting firebombed, you have elephants getting killed, poisoned, electrocuted. Every day something like that is happening. And let's face it, in the last 20 years, the elephant population has gone from 1.5 million elephants in Africa. 1.5 million, 1.6 million, something like that. It's down to like 488,000 now.
You know, it's always
in less than 20 years.
It's always weird to see like video of countries where you see like traffic. You know, maybe I'm thinking of India, but you can correct me. And you'll see cars going by, buses, and then people are walking with elephants.
Yeah,
it's
that's
the oddest
still,
looking thing.
Yeah, that happens in India. It's also in Cambodia, Vietnam, those areas, and it's gotten better. In our documentary, we went to some of these countries, and we went to bad places, and we went to some really good places that treat elephants really well. It's evolving, but what AZA has done with the ANCUS is going to have ramifications all the way to those countries. There are already some really good people, and we have been contacted, and in the future I think we're going to be working towards this and helping train mahouts in India and some of the mahouts in some of these other places that use these things, and start teaching them that they can do it in a different way and how to take care of these animals. It's going to take time in those countries because they're worried about where their next meal is. They really don't care about the elephants. The welfare issues are not big with them for animals because they're worried about their own welfare, their own survival. So it's going to take time, but it is starting.
And it's maybe we'll wrap up here. It's a work in progress. We're evolving, we're learning, and you're in the middle of it, and you've learned a lot just in your lifetime.
Yeah, we have, and we're going to the AZA meetings here in a couple weeks in New Orleans, as well as the IMATA, which is the International Marine Animal Trainers Association. They're doing the conference in concert, and we're going to be speaking to a lot of people and looking at taking the next steps. It's all about the welfare of the animals, and that's what we need to worry about. And if we do that, then zoos and aquariums have a future. But if they don't do that, if they fight things like using the use of the ANCUS, and they still want to use archaic old methods in how to train, then they're going to go away. If we go into the future in the right way, then they'll be around.
Thad, I love the work you do. Keep it up, man. Keep plowing through, and don't let the controversy ever stop you, because I think you guys are doing the right thing. I really do.
We do too. Thanks, Randy. I really appreciate it.
We're out of here.
No more Roach on Florida TV.